Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. We are ready to recap all the books that I read in 2024. I am so excited. Buckle in, get comfy. This is going to be a long video if you're going to watch the whole thing, but I'm really excited. I'm excited to share. I ended up reading a total of 42 books this year, so we are going to go through all of them. I'll give you my thoughts, opinions, give you a little description of each book, and yeah, it's gonna be great. We're gonna jump in and get started. I really don't wanna make this intro too long because I have a feeling this is gonna be a long video, but I did want to say I'm gonna break this video down. So if you just want to know about my top 10 books for this year, I'm going to talk about my top 10 all at the beginning of this video. So you don't even have to wait or scroll to the end to see what my top 10 books are. I'm going to tell you them all right off the bat. And then if you just wanted to hear my top 10 books, you can go and be done with it. Or if you would like to stick around, I will then talk about all the rest of the books that I read for the year. So I feel like that was the best mix of both for everybody. So if anybody just wants to watch the top 10, they have them. And then anybody who wants the whole thing, you also got that too. So without further ado, let's jump in. Made a little tea for the occasion. It's very hot right now though, so I'm not gonna drink it right away. But we're gonna jump in. So I tried my best to actually rank all of these books. So at least for my top 10, I tried to rank my top 10 in order from 10 to 1, 1 being my favorite book of the year. Some of them in the middle, they might be a little bit switched around, and I might say that as I'm starting to describe these books, but you know, I tried my best. So coming in at number 10, I have Counting the Cost by Jill Duggar and Derek Dillard and Craig Borlace, I believe is his name. So this is Jill Duggar. She is from, if you're familiar with the popular TLC show, I think it's called 19 Kids and Counting, maybe started out as 18 Kids and Counting. But yeah, so she was one of the kids on that show. She was one of the older girls, I believe, like maybe like the second oldest or oldest. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember. But she did a kind of memoir this year, and I'm just going to read all of Fable's summaries of these books because Fable does an amazing job at just like giving you like just the perfect little summary. So it's Jill Duggar and husband reveal the truth behind their time on TLC's 19 Kids and Counting, exposing secrets and manipulation, a moving journey of healing. And that's basically exactly what this was. I thought like she could have, you know, dived into, I feel like, so many different type of tell-all situations, and she could have like exposed her family and everything. But after all the wrongdoings that this girl went through, she really was very mild, I feel like, in what she shared about her family. And I thought that was really something to respect and aspire around, because I think at the end of the day, she also knows like this is her family and she doesn't want to cause any ill will towards her family. She's very obviously, you know, broken, I'm sure, from things in the past of that she's had to deal with. But she really was just like very kind, and even though she exposed a lot of things about what she went through as a child and even into her adult years, she was very like mild, I feel like. But I thought this was a great book. I did listen to it on audio, and it was really nice to actually hear her talk through it. I feel like that is going to be a theme of my top 10 books, is that any of the audiobooks that I listened to for memoirs, they were like what's that called? Narrated by the author. And it really adds like a lot of depth to it because you can really feel their emotions in their tellings. Normally I don't rate memoirs just because I feel like I don't want to give a star rating to somebody's life and how like traumatic or not traumatic their life is and my opinion on it. So normally I don't give stars to it, but I feel like just for the sake of it being in a top 10, I would consider it around like a 4-star for me, because it is something that I thought about quite a bit afterwards that I finished reading it. Coming in at number 9, we have Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. This was one that I've wanted to read for a while, and I think it was at the end of 2023 or maybe the beginning of 2024. Katelyn, Austin's sister, my sister-in-law, she read this book and she was like, I feel like you would really like it. It's really good. So I'm like, it's already on my shelf. I'm just gonna read it. And I think I ended up devouring this book in literally like 2 sittings. It was so good. It's super, super easy read. I feel like many people have read this book, and if you haven't, I would definitely recommend it. It's one of those good, like, for the soul kind of books. Like, there is a little bit of a sad aspect to it, but it is still good. But Fabled's book summary says, childhood sweethearts reunite after a decade apart in New York City. Secrets from a past heartbreak resurface when they discover what went wrong in this emotional novel set in both San Francisco and New York. And yeah, like, I just think it's like that perfect little, like, friends to lovers. Their moments as children are really beautiful, and I feel like I feel like a lot of people probably can relate to this type of love, of like falling in love or feeling like maybe you're in love when you're a child, and like, you know, like this somebody who's been around in your life for a long time and you just feel like a very comfortable feeling around them. I feel like that's how these 2 characters were. And yeah, I really liked it. I definitely cried at the end of it, but it was a good cry. And I actually ended up giving this one 5 stars. I feel like maybe now I would bump it down just a little bit, like maybe like a 4.5, because I don't really think it's a full 5-star read, but I don't go back and change my ratings. So whatever I felt when I rated it is how I feel, but I feel like maybe it's not a full 5-star, but a little bit less than 1. All right, coming in at number 8, we have Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This was a book that I have wanted to read for a while. Took me a minute to get into it. I started this book in 2023 and then ended up finishing it at the beginning of 2024. This is Fabled's summary says, in a dysfunctional relationship, Magnolia and BJ can't stay apart, but as secrets emerge, their worlds crumble, and a captivating love story set in London. And everybody describes this book as like Gossip Girl meets Bridgerton, I guess. It's basically just like a Gossip Girl but set in London, and it's like high society type stuff, and I don't know, it's really fun. It's definitely a captivating read. Like you're invested in these 2, but you also, I mean, you should know as you're reading this, like they have such a toxic relationship, and like you're not really rooting for them, but at the same time, I guess you kind of are because you're invested in their story. And I still haven't read any other of these books yet. I think there's 5 or 6 in the whole Magnolia Parks universe. I haven't read any of the other ones yet. I'm currently reading the second one right now. It's just taking me a little bit longer to get into. But every time I like actually get into this world, I love it and it's so fun. So this was fun. This was also actually one of our book club reads for last year. So that's also fun. I read it before book club. But anyways, besides the point, this was one of the book club picks and a lot of the girls really liked it. So if you're looking for books for your book club, if you guys haven't read this, might be a good one. And this one I actually did give 5 stars just because I was so invested, and the end of this book, literally, I gasped. So that's how I know it's a good one. Coming in at number 7, we have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This was one that I read on my Kobo. Fabled's book summary says, a weary book publicist falls for her temporary roommate only to discover he exists 7 years in the past. A heartwarming romance that defies time. So this one is really cool because basically, like it says, she meets this guy who is living in her apartment, and she was like, what are you doing in my apartment? And she soon finds out that he basically exists 7 years in the past, I believe. Yeah, as I literally just read. He exists 7 years in the past. So it's just very interesting, and it's kind of cool because their storylines kind of connect, but then they don't at some points, and it's a very heartwarming book. And I really liked it. I thought it was a good one. This was one that was for our book club as well. I think a lot of the girls didn't love this one. However, I feel like that might be, like, it's hard to say because the average star rating, like on Fable, is 4.3. So that's a pretty high rating. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. But yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was a really good book. Coming in at number 6, we have The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand. This is my first ever Ellen Hildebrand book. I had no expectations going into this book. This was something where it literally was just like, I had just gotten my library card. I was trying to find some books to listen to on audio, and this was one that was like available and popped up for me. So I was like, oh, let's give it a shot. And I was so invested. So Fabled's book summary says, in this summer drama set on Nantucket Island, a new general manager takes charge of a once abandoned hotel, facing scandal, a haunted past, and a romantic uncertainty. With emotional depth, multiple points of view, and a dash of roaring 20s history, Ellen Hildebrandt delivers an immensely satisfying page-turner for fans of beach reads and captivating stories. I love this book. It, like they said, it has multiple POVs. So basically you're seeing different guest experiences around this hotel. And normally I don't love multiple POVs. I normally can deal with 2 to 3 POVs in a book. If it gets more than that, I just get so confused. But this book, she did such a great job at really having a voice for every single character. It's like you could just tell who was talking with just how they were wording things, how they were speaking, what they were saying. Like you really could feel each of these characters, and I loved it. It was so captivating. I was like there's like a lot of drama that goes on, and I was just like eating it up. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so scandalous. This is great. I love it. And it was just like a really fun read overall. So I really, really enjoyed this one. Don't knock it, because a lot of people I feel like think that these are just those like, you know, older middle-aged women books. They're like, oh, it's not going to be entertaining. It's going to be whatever. No, it was very good. I really liked it. And what did I write? What did I rate this one? I ended up giving this one a 4 stars. My number 5 for this is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. So this is, I think this was technically like my second or third Abby Jimenez book. And this was the first book that I really, really enjoyed by her. I know that this is, I think, technically the second book or possibly the third book of her. But I read it second or something. It was basically where like I should have known some of the characters and I didn't, but it didn't take away from the story for me at all. If anything, it just kind of makes me want to read the other ones. But what did I say for this one? So Fabled's book summary says, join a man with a dating curse and a nurse with an unexpected plan on a summer adventure in Minnesota. Scheming to break the hex, love might surprise them both at the lake cottage. So basically they both are under the impression that every time that they date somebody, when they break up, the next person that the ex meets is who they end up falling in love with. So these two end up making a pact where they're gonna just like date just for the sake of dating, so that when they break up with each other, hopefully it breaks this curse and then they're able to find who they're meant to be with. It's a fun kind of storyline. It's a fun idea. I really liked it. I loved the kind of atmosphere. They were on a lake and an island. The travel nursing aspect of it was really cool with the girl. I liked the guy character. The only thing was like towards the end, it did get like slightly slow for like maybe 3 chapters, but other than that, it was a really fun book. I really liked it. I will say one of the girls in my book club, I talked about it and she read it and she like hated it. So again, everybody has different opinions, but just, you know, forewarning. But I did end up giving this one at the time 5 stars. Again, I think now I would knock it down to like maybe a 4 or a 4.5. But it was a really fun and sweet read and I did really enjoy it. All right, coming in at number 4, we have Funny Story by Emily Henry. If you don't know, Emily Henry is truly just my favorite author. I love her so much. Every single witty banter that she has in her books, all her characters, all her storylines, I love Emily Henry so much. So in Fable's book summary, it says, in a picturesque lakeside town, Daphne finds herself roommates with her ex-fiance's childhood friend. A charming tale of friendship and unexpected love blossoming. This was just like a fun read. I will say this wasn't anywhere near like the best book that I've read ever, or even by her. Like it's not even up in there in like my top favorite reads, but just because of how I love her writing as a whole, I just had to put it in my top 10 for the year. I don't know. I really did enjoy it. It's really sweet. It's a cute little like fluffy romance. I will say this is one of her like in retrospect, or in what's that word? What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. In her universe, I feel like this is probably her most like spicy or risky kind of novel. Like there's just like a couple scenes where I was just like, whoa, that's not normal for her to like throw that much information in. But it was still fun. I really did enjoy it. So funny story. I think I ended up giving this what, 4 stars? Yeah, 4 stars for funny story. All right, moving on to number 3. We're in our top 3. And my number 3 was Where the Crawdads Sing by Delilah Owens. Now, I will say, I understand that I feel like this author is controversial. I really try to just like accept the art for what it is. So, you know, take with that what you will. I thought this was such a beautiful story. I loved reading it. I actually went back and forth between reading and listening to this on audio, which I've never done before, and I did enjoy it. The Fable book summary says, an enchanting tale set in the marshes of 1969 North Carolina, blending mystery, nature, and coming-of-age themes as the locals unravel the secrets of the Marsh Girl. I just thought the way that this story is written, it's beautiful. I could literally visualize every word of this book. And normally I can visualize most books, but there was just something different about this book for me. It was so entrancing, and I honestly just never wanted it to end. I feel like this actually took me a really long time to read. It took me, I think, almost the full month to read this. But it genuinely was because I just loved it so much, and I wanted to take the time and like savor and devour this book in such a slow pace because I was just so intrigued and entranced with the story. I was not expecting to at all, but I sobbed at the end of this book. I like was not expecting to, and it's not like it's slightly sad, but it's not really sad at the end. But like I think I was just so attached to this book, to the characters, and I loved it. I thought it was so good. So if you've never read Where the Crawdads Sing, I would highly recommend it. If you've only ever seen the movie, I would still really recommend reading the book. The movie in comparison to this is garbage. Like, this book is so good, and the movie does not do it justice at all. I am so sorry, but just knowing this book, it doesn't even come close. But I did end up giving this one 5 stars, and I fully stand by that. I think it is a beautiful, wonderful book, and if you are interested in reading it, but you don't want to support the author, you can find this at literally any thrift store, guaranteed. I feel like every time I go to the thrift store, I'm able to find one of these copies. So super easy to kind of just buy from a used store. But yeah, love this book. All right, coming in at number 2, this was my 3rd read for the year. My 3rd read, and this was my first 5-star read of the year. Coming in at number 2, Finding Me by Viola Davis. And this is a memoir. And like I said, I normally don't rate memoirs, but this 1,000% I will give a 5-star rating to. It's just a beautiful, beautiful memoir. Stunning. I listened to this one on audio as well, and I would highly recommend you to listen to it if you are interested in reading this book. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful memoir. Viola Davis is such a gifted actor, and she just depicts herself so well. Again, she's the one who narrates her own memoir, which makes it even more just like raw and beautiful. And I just can't stop saying beautiful for this memoir, because just the way that she's able to tell her story and what she went through growing up, it's just absolutely insane. And really, like, I was not that I wasn't a fan of her, but I just wasn't familiar with a lot of her work. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff that she's in, but I didn't really go about my way to like learn about her. But reading her memoir and listening to her memoir and learning about all the things that she went through in her life, it's just absolutely mind-blowing and astonishing, the things that she's able to like succeed at and win. And she's just truly like thriving in her life. And yeah, she's amazing. Love her. Stunning. Oh, okay. Sorry, I just got so carried away. I forgot to read the fabled book summary, but the summary says, a heartfelt journey from a girl in Central Falls, Rhode Island to a New York stage. This memoir shares struggles and success, inspiring radical honesty and self-love. Like, stunning. And again, 5 stars easy for this one. All right, coming up, my number one book of the year. This one is definitely not going to be for everyone, and it's definitely one that is sensitive subjects to the extreme, but the way I have thought about this book literally every single day since I have read it, it is the book that literally put me in a book slump for the rest of the year in the summer. So, you know, take with that what you will, like if you're not up for a book slump, whatever, but this one was just so good. I just literally couldn't think of any other book after reading it. But it is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. This book is just, it's I don't even know how to describe it. Fabled book summary says, a gripping novel exploring a teenager's relationship with her manipulative teacher, sparking questions about agency, consent, and victimhood. This basically goes through this young child's life, and how when she was at the very young age of, I think she was, why do I want to say 13? Between the ages of 13 and 14 or 15, I think, she essentially is groomed by her teacher at a private school. And it talks about her relationship and how she changes as a person and what she goes through between this very young age up into young adulthood. And I think that this is such an important book to read and to listen to. I ended up listening to this on audio, and I will say there were moments where I really had to like turn it off to be like, I just need a breather. Because it's jarring at times, but it's very eye-opening. And at the end of the day, like, unfortunately, things like this are happening in the world. And I just think if you are more knowledgeable on things, you can hopefully see signs or prevent, or, you know, be there for somebody if you ever find, like, God forbid, somebody goes through this in your life, like, you're there for them to at least be a person to be there. But yeah, this book was just incredible. And I looked more into the author, and basically she says that this book was not a telling of what she went through as a child. However, there are things that she did experience in this situation, which make it even more heartbreaking, because then you kind of are just under the impression that she may have gone through some of these things in her real life. And for her to be able to write about these things so openly and honestly and brutally is just incredible. Also, I would recommend, if you're listening to this on an audio, if you choose to listen to it on audio, at the very end of the book, there's actually a question and answer kind of with the author and the narrator. And it's beautiful. It's very eye-opening. It feels almost like a podcast. I think it's like 45 minutes of just them talking at the end. And it's also just, it really added to the book for me too. But yeah, it's very good. It is very, very graphic though. I will say, like, there are descriptive scenes of what is going on in this relationship, and they do not feel good when you're reading them or listening to them. So just totally forewarning, not to make this heavy by any means, but it's just something to be completely aware of. But I will say this was by far the best read that I had all year. And if you're interested in reading it at all, one, look up the trigger warnings before you do, but like, it's totally an amazing novel to read. And again, I can't remember if I said it, but I did give this one 5 stars because I literally could not stop thinking about it for the rest of the year. And when did I read this? I read this in August. So, okay, those are my top 10 books for the year. So if you were just interested in hearing those, thank you guys so much for watching. And if you want to stick around for the rest of the books that I read, I'm going to rapid fire the rest of them, okay? Because it's going to be a long video. But yeah, if you want to stick around, here we go. So I think the way I'm going to do this is just go through, I'll just start from the first book I read and just throw them out there, give you my quick rating, and then be on our way. And I won't repeat, obviously, the ones that I already talked about, but Okay, so I also read this year Spare by Prince Harry. I read this in January. This one was a memoir about, like I said, Prince Harry. It was okay. It was just kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it could have been a lot shorter. I was kind of just bored through half of it, but the other half of it was pretty good. He did talk a lot about like his experience in the military, and I thought that was very interesting to listen to, and all his like humanitarian things that he does through the royal family. So I thought that was really interesting to learn about and listen to. And he does obviously talk about how he did leave the royal family and like what happened with that. He talks a lot about what happened with his wife Meghan. And again, it's just like a lot of things I was already aware about because I do kind of like to follow the royal family stuff. So it wasn't anything like jaw dropping or like earth shattering that I was like, oh, I didn't already know this, because they do talk about this in their documentaries and stuff. But yeah, overall it was okay. Then I read Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This one I read in January as well. This one, I have to remind myself what this is about. It's experience spine-chilling suspense in this gripping novel set in prestigious Manhattan building with a dark past. Uncover secrets that lead to terrifying consequences. This one is cool, actually. I remember this one. Basically, it's like in a hotel, not a hotel, but it's in an apartment building, and there's just like an ad for this like part-time apartment type of situation, and they don't really... like there's rules to live there, but you get paid to live there. I believe that's kind of how it goes, but it's a really interesting kind of freaky story. I really liked it. I think the average star rating on Fable is 3.89. And what did I end up giving it? I ended up actually giving it 4 stars. So I thought it was really cool, interesting. I think a lot of people are like 50-50 on Riley Sager, but I liked it a lot. Sorry, I really need to like drink my tea here and get my throat's getting dry. Okay, next up I have Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. Yeah. And this was our January book club pick. So this was one I ended up giving it 3 stars. This was actually a beautiful novel. This was actually the first like real like literary fiction book that I've read in a really long time. So I think that's why maybe I gave it such a lower rating, but I feel like if I was to reread it again, like maybe this year or next year, let's say, I feel like I might give it a higher rating. Fabled's book summary says, in this charming and witty debut novel, a widow forms an unlikely bond with a giant Pacific octopus, leading to a friendship that helps uncover the truth about her son's disappearance. Perfect for fans of A Man Called Ove with themes of friendship, reckoning, and hope. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's a good read. I feel like it's a literary fiction. So if you're looking for more like literary fictions that are easy to read, that would be a good one. And then I read another Riley Sager book. The Last Time I Lied. I was really in a Riley Sager kick, I guess, at the beginning of the year. So the book summary is a tense and twisty thriller set at a summer camp 15 years after her friends went missing. Emma returns as a painting instructor, but past haunts her. A deadly mystery unfolds. This one I was not as impressed by. I feel like a lot of the time I was pretty bored. Towards the end, it is a little bit more thrilling. I don't know why I'm looking at this and I gave it a 4 star. I don't think I would agree with that. I think I'd give it more of a 3. But yeah, it's definitely not one of my favorite Riley Sager books, but it's decent. All right, next up we read The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. This was our February book club pick. So this one, in this joyful romantic comedy, Tiffy and Leon share an apartment without ever meeting. Through notes and friendship, they may just find love. This one was cute. Basically, the way that they like basically share an apartment because he works nights and she works days, or he works days and she works nights. I don't know. It's one of the two. So they basically never run into each other. And the way they communicate is just by leaving sticky notes back and forth to each other. I could have ate up the entire book of them just having the sticky notes. I love that aspect of it. But the sticky note aspect is really only like a very small portion of the entire book. So I kind of was like, dang, I wish the sticky notes lasted longer. Like I wish I would have pined for them a little bit more. So I only ended up giving this one a 3 stars. But it was still really good. I would say it's like a good read. Then I read, also in February, The Shadows Between Us by, I can't say her name, Tricia Levenseller? that is probably so wrong. So sorry. So this is a fantasy book. So it says, in this wickedly addictive fantasy, Alessandra has a plan to gain power, woo, marry, and kill the Shadow King. Full of court intrigue and decadent descriptions of food, it's perfect for fans of villains and cunning queens. I had really high expectations for this book. I don't know why. I was just like, I read that summary and I read a couple other summaries and like reviews of this book, and a lot of people really like this book, and I liked the premise of it. I just could not get into it, and maybe that's because I listened to it on audio. I just like wasn't fully invested, but I really just was not interested, and I'm pretty sure this is a series or going to be a series, and I will not be picking up the rest of them because I really was not interested. I gave it a 3-star, but I genuinely think I was being generous. Yeah, I didn't really love that one. Next up, another book that we read in February, and this is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. So the book summary on this one says, join this chilling Agatha Christie-esque thriller set on an island off the coast of Ireland where a wedding celebratory mood twists into a deadly turn. Dive into secrets and suspense. This one, I think I have determined that I don't love Lucy Foley. She has so many point of views in her story. And this leads me back to when I talked about the Hotel Nantucket. When I read that one, I was so invested in how many storylines and like plot points there were and how many characters there were. This one, I could not keep them straight. I was just like, I don't care about any of these people. There's too many people. Like, I couldn't deal with it. I didn't like it. And the whole book, I literally was just like, can this be over already? So that's how I knew. That was a 2-star read for me, unfortunately. Next up, I listened to The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. Again, I listened to this on audio. And Fabled's book summary says, in this brave and astonishing memoir, Britney Spears shares her incredible journey through freedom, fame, motherhood, and survival. A powerful story of strength and resilience that will inspire and captivate readers. Again, I don't really rate memoirs. This one I didn't actually give any rating to. Sometimes I throw a rating on there and sometimes I don't. This one I didn't leave one because I feel like the writing of this was not great, but I wasn't about to rate her writing and attach it to her story because her story really is very like sad, and it's like I couldn't imagine growing up as a child star and like the things that she had to go through. I wouldn't ever want to have somebody like rate that. But yeah, I thought it was good. She narrates it. Again, I love all the memoirs where they actually narrate their own stories. She doesn't narrate it. She narrates the first like little snippet, but then she doesn't narrate it because she said it was like too much for her to do, which again, obviously makes sense. Like there's some heavy topics in all these books. So somebody else narrates it, but the girl who narrates it does a very good job. And I did really like it, that actually. Next up, this was kind of like a dark horse for me. Is that what that word is? This one came like out of the blue and I was like, I really enjoyed it, but it's called The X by Alifair Burke. This was another one that just randomly popped up on my like library app and it was available for audio. And I was like, sure, I need an audiobook to listen to. And I loved it. So this one says, a gripping mystery thriller like Gone Girl and The Girl on the Train unfolds as a lawyer represents her ex-fiance accused of murder, revealing dark secrets. Super, super cool book. I've never read any book where it's really about like a police officer or a lawyer or anything like that. It's more like they're in the story rather than it's being told from their perspective. But this one, it was being told from this girl's perspective as a lawyer. Is that what she was? A lawyer? Yeah. And it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. I really want more books like that one. So if you have recommendations that are similar where it's like a lawyer trying to figure something out, like a police officer trying to figure something out, like something like those kind of mystery type books in that realm, I'd be interested if you want to leave me those recommendations. But this one I ended up giving up 4 stars. So highly, highly recommend. Next up, we have Not a Happy Family by Sherry Lapina. This one was okay. It wasn't my favorite. I really had high hopes again for this one, but I really have determined I don't think I love a suburban thriller. That's like not really my vibe. But this one says, a twisted family saga set in an expensive upstate New York neighborhood. After a brutal murder and the 3 adult siblings stand to inherit millions, did one of them snap? You won't be able to guess the shocking truth in this fast-paced domestic suspense novel. Try it now. I don't even literally remember what happens. Yeah, maybe I do actually. I do remember. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't the best thing I've ever read, but I feel like if you like suburban thrillers and like kind of like family secrets and stuff like that, I feel like you would like it. I ended up giving it 3 stars because it was okay, but it just wasn't my favorite. Next up, I read The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I think I read this right after I saw the movie because I started it before and then I wasn't going to finish it and we really just wanted to be able to see it in theaters. So I was just like, it's fine. I'll just read it after, like I'll finish it after. And I'm glad I did actually because then I was able to kind of like, I already watched the movie. So as I was reading, I was like, oh, this is like, it's just easier to envision in your head. You know what I mean? So this one is in the prequel to the Hunger Games, a young Coriolanus Snow becomes a mentor in the games. As his fate intertwines with that of the lowest tribute, a fight for survival begins. I really liked it. The only thing about it was that I wish that there was more of the actual games in this book. This book only had like, I feel like it was only like a small snippet of the games was actually in the book. So I would have been interested in more of the games talk, but it also makes sense because he wasn't actually in the games. He was just like watching his tribute in the games. So, but I still give it Sid. I've been talking for too long. I did still give it a 4 stars. Okay, next up we have Too Late by Holly Cooper. Oh my god. This is why I can't talk for this long. Okay, next up I have Too Late by Colleen Hoover. I haven't read a Colleen Hoover book in a hot minute, but this one had been on my shelf for a while and I really was just trying to get rid of a lot of the books on my shelf this year. So I was like, all right, whatever, we're just gonna read it. So this one is a captivating thriller where Sloane, entangled in dangerous love with a drug trafficker, finds hope with an undercover DEA agent as they race against time to escape the I can't say that word. Perilous web. Perilous? I don't know. It was interesting. It wasn't my favorite book of the year. Again, I kind of liked that it was different for Colleen Hoover. It wasn't her like typical just like romance. But again, this was one of those ones where it's like, this is not a healthy relationship. Like atmosphere. I guess the relationship was fine, but like the atmosphere of it was not great. And it was obviously like the guy's a drug trafficker. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're working for a drug trafficker. So it's like, there's obviously some heavy stuff that goes on in this book. But it was interesting. It was easy. It was a quick read. Again, Colleen Hoover books are so easy to read. But yeah, I ended up giving it 3 stars. Next up, I had Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. So this is the second book to the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. And I really went into this not really expecting to like love it, but I really did. So in this addictive mystery sequel, Pip's true crime podcast goes viral as she investigates another deadly case. Dark secrets and a missing person keep readers hooked. This was a cool one because, like it said, there's a podcast aspect to it. So there's like kind of different stuff in the book. So it's like kind of interviews and like it's a very, very quick paced read. And obviously it's a YA. But this YA is so good. I was like so intrigued, loved it. I love Holly Jackson's writing. Everything I've read by her so far, I've only read 2 books by her, but all her writing I've read so far I really like and really enjoy. So yeah, loved it. This one I gave 4 stars. Next up, oh my gosh, we're only in March still. Next up, I have People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This was the last Emily Henry book that I needed to read in her like repertoire for like adults. Like rom-coms, romantic comedies. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. The reason that it had taken me so long to read was that there was so many people, I feel like in my life and online, that were saying it wasn't great. It was like their least favorite Emily Henry book. And I was just like, oh no, I don't want to read it. But I ended up really liking it. So the summary is, best friends Poppy and Alex haven't spoken in 2 years until Poppy convinces him to take one more vacation together. Will they fix everything or ruin it further? A heartwarming summer read about friendship and second chances. And that's exactly how I would describe it. A very heartwarming summer read about friendship and second chances. It's so cute. It's like kind of like best friends to strangers to best friends to lovers almost. Like it's like a whole like web. But it's really cute and I liked it. And this one I did give 4 stars. Next up, we have The Assassin's Blade. And this is the third, I think I've read it, third in the Throne of Glass series. So, I think this is where I say I don't know if I can continue with the Throne of Glass series. I have just been trying to read this series for like 2 years now, and I am just not invested. I don't really care, I think, about the characters. I'm just not leaning towards picking up the rest of the books in these series. And I don't know why, but I don't know. I just don't love them. And I feel really sad saying that because I know so many people love these books, but I just haven't been able to get in, like, attached. So this one is, in this prequel to Throne of Glass, follow assassin Celaena I can never say her name. Celaena Sardothian. There we go. Celaena Sardothian. On daring mission from remote islands to hostile deserts, a thrilling and deadly world awaits. So this one I think was kind of like a collection of short stories. That's like kind of how it was, I believe. But yeah, it was a fun read for sure. I think I still gave it actually 4 stars or 3.5. Yeah, 4 stars. So it was still fun. But again, I'm just not invested in the characters, and it makes me so sad because I know so many people like it. Next up, we have Bunny, and this was our March read for this year. And what is this? This is Bunny by Mona Awad. An outsider joins a clique of rich girls known as the Bunnies at a dark MFA program, leading to sinister realms where friendship meets a deadly collision. I'm getting so tired, can you tell? This one was crazy. I don't know. It was crazy, but I will say, again, this was a book club pick. When I read the book in book club, I was kind of just like, it's okay. But then after we talked about it in book club, I liked it a million times more. So I think that's also a really fun thing about book club is that maybe you didn't realize certain things when you were reading it the first time. And then when you talk about it, you're like, oh wait, that's like kind of interesting and different. So yeah. I ended up giving it 3 stars though, but yeah, still good. Next up, we have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Okay, people can hate me for this one. I did not find the hype about these books. I only read the first one and I'm not interested in reading the next ones. I literally didn't care. I thought it was so boring. And I know this was a YA, but I was just like, I'm just not interested and I don't know, I didn't love it. But this one says, join Avery in a thrilling tale of intrigue and wealth as she navigates through deadly stakes and juicy secrets in a mansion filled with puzzles and danger. Yeah, I really wasn't interested. Didn't love it. It took me a really long time to get through it. And yeah, I gave it 3 stars. Next, we have The Wives by Taryn Fisher. This was the first Taryn Fisher book that I've read, and I don't know if she has more books or not, but I'd be interested in reading them because I actually really enjoyed this book. So this book summary says, Taryn Fisher delivers a heart-pounding suspense novel about a woman who discovers her husband has 2 other wives, leading to a thrilling journey of deception and danger. A must-read thriller that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was really interesting. It was like the whole time you're kind of like, am I the crazy one? Is this girl the crazy one? Like, what's going on here? And I love a book like that. I love when I'm like questioning what's going on because it's just fun. Next up, I have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. So this was the first book that I read by Abby Jimenez, and I had such high expectations because so many people rave about her and love her. And this was my first book that I went in reading, and I did not like it at all. Like, I thought it was so, I'm sorry. I thought it was so cringe, and I just couldn't. I did not like the main character, like the guy. I thought he was so annoying, and I'm so sorry for saying that, but I can't. I didn't like him. But the Fable book summary says, divorce, kidney troubles, and a new annoying colleague, the last thing Brianna needs. When Dr. Jacob sends her a letter, their unexpected connection changes everything. Get ready for a hilarious and heartwarming romance that will keep you hooked from the first page. Yeah, I don't know. It was not one of my favorites. I ended up giving it 2 stars, and I'm so sorry. I know so many people like that book, but I was just not a fan. Next up, I have The Paris Apartment, and I'm kind of looking, and I actually think that I DNF'd this one. No, I read this one. I remember. So this is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. And like I said, this is when I kind of realized I don't really enjoy her writing, or I don't know what it is, but it says, in this clever cliffhanger-filled thriller set in a Paris apartment building, Jess's search for her missing brother uncovers dark secrets and hidden motives. I just was not interested at all. I literally don't even remember the outcome of this book, and I like literally cannot remember because I just did not like it at all. This was my lowest rated book of the year, and I did give it a 1 star. So sorry if you really like her. Next up, we have The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. This was our June pick for book club. This one was interesting. I think this was probably one of my least favorite books from book club. I thought it was just weird. So the Fables book summary says, Southern Women's Book Club faces off against a mysterious newcomer with a dark secret in this chilling horror novel blending friendship and fear. Now, I don't know if I would consider this a horror novel because it wasn't scary, but it's very gross. Like, there's a lot of descriptions of bugs and like gore, I guess, but it wasn't scary, but it was just weird. But I did give it 3 stars still. But yeah, it wasn't my favorite. Next up, I read Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This one I was nervous about because I was going into it and it was overly hyped, and it was very hyped. And I do feel like it was a little overhyped. So it says, in this YA fantasy, an ordinary girl poses as a psychic to survive in a kingdom where only elites belong. But when she saves a prince, everything changes. Exciting and forbidden romance. This was the one I feel like that it was so similar to the Hunger Games that I just couldn't get out of the idea that it was trying to be the Hunger Games. You know what I mean? So I just wasn't really invested in that. I didn't really love the romance between the 2 characters. I thought it was not great. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't love it. I think I gave it 3 stars. Okay. Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Booley. I think that's how you say her name. This one was so close to being in my top 10. I very easily could have switched this out with any of the ones in my 5 to 10. I very easily could have switched this out. But this is, in this buzzed about thriller, Donis, a native teen, uncovers corruption when she witnesses a murder and goes undercover in an FBI investigation. A groundbreaking must-read YA novel. This one was so fun, and it didn't ever feel like a YA novel. It was very interesting. There was a lot about Native culture, which was really cool and interesting to read about and learn about. I listened to this on audio, and I really liked the narrator also. That was another thing. I really liked the narrator for this. But yeah, I really liked it. I would really recommend reading this book. I was kind of on the fence about if I would like it or not when Austin's sister, she was the one who recommended this one to me. And I was kind of on the fence. I'm I don't know if I'm going to like this book or not, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I actually gave it a 4 stars. Next up, we have The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. I kind of went on a Frida McFadden kick here for the next 2 books. But I did read The Housemaid, was it 2 years ago then, I guess? In 2023, I think. So I was like, whatever, I'll read the second one. So it says, in this shocking and twisty sequel to The Housemaid, a mysterious employee discovers dark secrets in a penthouse with a forbidden room, a thrilling mystery. I didn't like this one as much as the original. I will say too, Frida McFadden's writing is nothing groundbreaking. It's just very easy to read. But yeah, I definitely like the first one better. I won't give too much away, I guess, in what I talk about, because I don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't read, but yeah, I gave this one 3 stars. Then I read The Inmate by Frida McFadden. Again, very quick and easy reads. So it says, in this gripping psychological thriller, nurse Brooke Sullivan's secret connection with a dangerous inmate threatens to unravel as she navigates the treacherous world of a men's maximum security prison. This one pissed me off a lot of the time, if I'm so honest with you. The the things that these characters chose as they thought were really good ideas, I was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? But again, Freida McFadden, very easy books to read, quick reads. But yeah, I was questioning them a lot. I gave it a 3 stars. Okay, and then I read It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I was about to go see the It Ends With Us movie, and I was like, I kind of guess I want to read this one because I know it's like supposed to be taken like after. But yeah. In this long-anticipated sequel to It Ends With Us, Colleen Hoover explored Atlas's side of the story as Lily navigates a second chance at love while dealing with a jealous ex-husband. With emotional depth and gripping plot, this romance novel keeps readers hooked from start to finish. It was not as interesting to me as It Ends With Us. I also will say that I wasn't looking forward to reading this, so I think it was better than what I expected, but it still wasn't great. I do like how they kind of like gave everybody a happy ending. I will say, like, I'm a sucker, I guess, and I liked that. But yeah, a lot of it, honestly, I was bored, and I was like, I really don't care. And also, people are praising this man for literally doing the bare minimum, and I'm like, okay, guys, we need higher standards here. But I gave it 3 stars. Okay, next up, I'm almost at the end, I promise. Next up, we read Big Swiss by Jen Began, I think is her name. This was one for book club in August, I believe. Is this an August book club pick? No, this was a July book club pick, but I finished it in August. In a quirky Dutch farmhouse, Greta transcribes for a sex therapist named Ohm. She becomes involved with this client, Big Swiss, leading to a funny and unconventional exploration of love, infidelity, and more in this unique and captivating novel. This one was crazy. This was a weird freaking book, and I really don't know how I felt about it. I only gave it a 3 stars because I literally was like, I don't know how to rate this. I feel like I actually wanted more from it than ended up coming out. But yeah, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite book. Then I read, also in August, The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. This one took me by surprise. So in this page-turning, exhilarating suspense novel, a woman's husband disappears, leaving behind a note to protect his daughter. As she investigates, shocking truth unfolds. Don't miss this heartfelt thriller that will keep you captivated. And that's truly what this did. I was hooked from the beginning, and I think I read it in like a couple sittings, and it was so good. I really liked it. Again, I think I still do like the aspect of when like the police are trying to investigate things going on rather than just like the wife and the kid. But it was still good. I still really liked it, and I thought it was a good ending. I know that that's kind of controversial though, because I think a lot of people didn't like that book, but I thought it was good. I gave it 4 stars. Then we have Thank You for Listening by Julia Whalen. This one I listened to on audio, and it's literally about a romance novel narrator. So join Swanee on a journey of self-discovery and love as she narrates a romance novel in Las Vegas, connecting with secretive voice artists along the way. It was a fun little read. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really fun that I was listening to it on audio, and then it was about audiobooks. So that was like a fun aspect to it. I feel like it also was just kind of like a love letter to audiobooks. And it was cute. It was a fun little read. I gave it 3 stars. It was good. Okay, next up I have Rouge by Mona Awad. This was our October read for book club. This one was not great for me. A darkly funny horror novel follows Belle's journey into a cult-like spa post her mother's death, unraveling family secrets with surreal twists. Rouge is a twisted fairy tale on beauty, grief, and maternal love set against a California backdrop. This one, honestly, I just felt stupid reading the entire time because I just felt like I couldn't comprehend anything that was being said. And I felt like I didn't even understand the book at all. I ended up giving it 2.5 stars, and yeah, wasn't really the biggest fan. Next up, we have Bride by Allie Hazelwood. So this one is a vampire bride and an alpha werewolf form a compelling love story in a paranormal romance where alliances clash, trust is tested, and secrets await in Were territory. This was, I think, my second or third Allie Hazelwood book. I normally like her as an author, and I did enjoy the book because I was able to get through it quickly, and it was captivating. However, I don't know if I will ever read a vampire werewolf romance, like adult romance, ever again, because it got weird at the end, is all I'll say. 3.5 stars. Next up, we have Betting on You by Lynn Painter. Okay, this one, I'm sorry. It says, in this swoon-worthy rom-com set in a water park, Bailey teams up with an old acquaintance, Charlie, to make a bet about co-workers' romance. As they pretend to be a couple, feelings grow, but a secret threatens their chances. A fun and addictive YA read for fans of She's All That and 10 Things I Hate About You. This one was really disappointing to me. I didn't really love it, and I just felt like the way that the characters were, like, and again, this was a YA novel, and I really think this was the one that kind of set me up to be like, I don't know if I can read YA novels anymore, because the way that the kids were talking about their parents and like dealing with situations with their parents, I was like, this is crazy. Like, if these kids would just talk to their parents normally and like explain situations normally, half of this crap wouldn't happen. So it was just, I don't know. It was weird. I didn't love it. I gave it 3 stars, but yeah. Next up, I did a reread of Twilight, which is very fun, by Stephanie Meyer. I read this, oh my gosh, what the heck? When did I read this? When I was like, I would still be in elementary school for sure. Like maybe grade 7, I want to say. I don't know. Don't quote me. But I was like, you know what? I want to reread Twilight, and it was so good. I want to reread the rest of them. I actually kind of forgot that I had that on my list, so I'm going to put that on my list of things to get from the library for audio. But yeah, it was good. And if you've never read Twilight, here's your summary. Discover a thrilling and dangerous romance as Bella meets an alluring vampire Edward in the rainy town of Forks, where their love teeters between desire and peril. Live the iconic love saga told from the vampire's perspective. What? That's wrong. That's literally wrong. It's not from his perspective. It's from her perspective. Anyways. I don't know. I liked Twilight. It was good. I gave it 3 stars. And then finally, we have the last book that I read this year, The Christmas Tree Farm by Lori Gilmore. And this was our December book club read. And I didn't like it. And there's not even a summary of it. Basically, it's a Grumpy Sunshine book, and the girl is the grumpy one, and the guy is the sunshine, and she basically inherits or buys this tree farm from this guy, and she runs it, and she's miserable and grouchy, but she's loves dogs, and it's annoying. And I didn't like it, and I gave it 2.5 stars. Yeah, and that is my reading wrapped. That is everything I read this year. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this. I know I am terrible at giving reviews and ratings of books, and that's why I really, like, I know I do it, but I really just, every time I do it, I'm like, this is so stupid, nobody cares. I feel like this is so dumb, because I just don't know how to describe books very well, and it's so personal, but you guys still wanted to see it, so I figured I would share it. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Please let me know your book recommendations down below. Let me know what some of your favorite reads from the year were. Let me know if any of these you've read before and you know similar books that I would like. Give them to me. Tell me them. I need books to read for this year. And yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.